So this is the Canadian conversion therapy law that was just put into effect in Canada. And yes, I know it's in Canada, but we'll talk about why that's important in a little bit. So this thing is wild, evil, and downright reprehensible, especially because it comes under the C4 designation, because I don't know, I like blowing stuff up. But it's supposedly designed to keep people from undergoing conversion therapy. And that term brings up images of someone who has maybe homosexual proclivities strapped to a chair and being zapped until they don't anymore. That does not happen in the West. I'm just putting that out there. It does not happen in the West. It used to. It was wrong. But it doesn't happen anymore. But that is the guise they're doing this. Although, I mean, let me just read it for you. This is in their criminal code. So the definition of conversion therapy means a practice, treatment, or service designed to change a person's sexual orientation to heterosexual, change a person's gender identity to cisgender, and that just means it's a stupid word meaning the biological sex you were born with. So I was born a male. I identify as a male, therefore I'm a cisgender male. It's a stupid term made up by people who have to obfuscate everything to get what they want. Change a person's gender expression to so that it conforms to the sex assigned to the person at birth. Repress or reduce non-heterosexual attraction or sexual behavior. Repress a person's non-cisgender identity, cisgender gender identity, or repress or reduce a person's gender expression that does not conform to the sex assigned at birth. And I have some thoughts, and some of these thoughts you've probably heard if you know anything about this law, and hopefully I have something original. First of all, this is a criticism you'll see about quite a bit, and I want to get your opinion on this, Marcus. They went out of the way to make this a one-direction street, meaning it would have been bad enough that they tried to ban all of this both ways, but literally only puts the ban against the truth. So you can tell a boy who is confused and thinks he's a girl that he is in fact a girl. But if a boy says, I think I was confused, I may be a girl, but I think I'm a boy, you still have to tell him he's a girl by law. What do you think about that, Marcus?
It makes no sense to me. I still haven't made sense of why this law makes any sense, to what the actual purpose of it is, as to what it could actually accomplish. Because if you can just change it up on a whim or be told, you know, I don't see what this accomplishes whatsoever. But I mean,
well, it's purposefully vague for a reason. We'll get into that reason in just a minute, but it is very purposefully vague so that until there's whatever legal challenges Canada has to it, it can be interpreted in a wide variety of ways. It's under the guise of we're going to stop the old zapping conversion therapy and stuff like that. That's its guise, but they couldn't write it like that. They had to write it very vague so they could apply it to anything, as you'll see. But before I get to that, and the second point is you can't repress or reduce non-heterosexual attraction or sexual behavior. Which is funny about that is that most parents want to repress all sexual behavior in their teenagers. But does this law mean that they can be reported for stopping their teenage daughter from being intimate with another teenage girl? Or can they only stop it if it happens to be, they happen to find her with a boy? But that's the way it's written. That's the way it's written. Is that, you know, point E, D, to repress or reduce non-heterosexual attraction or sexual behavior. So basically you cannot parent anymore. Not when it comes to this. And there's other reasons why, which we'll get to, but in this alone, you cannot be a parent anymore who cares about their child, about your child's well-being. And the worst thing is that all of this is punishable by 5 years in prison. 5 years for speaking the truth. 5 years for telling a biological boy he is in fact a boy. And like I said, it's vague and for good reason, or at least good reason in the leftist mindset. There is nothing here specifically referring to a therapist. And what that means is there's nothing stopping pastors from being prosecuted for publicly claiming the Bible and Christian theology states that you are born male and female and that's what you are, or that homosexuality is expressly forbidden. Explicitly forbidden. In fact, this bill has provisions that could essentially ban the Bible in Canada. So it's part of the way through this, Marcus. Are you as flabbergasted as I was reading through this?
Yeah. I can't believe that you'd be sent to prison for. I can't believe the fact that you'd be sent to prison just for misgendering or missexualizing, or not even just doing that,
or just, no, yeah. So this is like watchful.
Not even anything that serious.
Exactly, but I mean, even therapists now can't, say they cannot say. So if a 5-year-old boy comes to them and says, "I'm a girl," they cannot now say, "Well, let's wait and watch before we start you on any sort of hormones or start chopping off pieces of you to approximate the look of the other gender." No, they have to immediately affirm it, or they're in the clink for 5 years.
What do you think that's going to do to suicide rates? You think that'll make it rise?
That's going to skyrocket. Again, you are literally, this is literally fighting the truth. Literally fighting the truth.
I mean, thank God this is in Canada right now. It'll probably make its way in the United States before too long.
Oh, no, yeah, no, I'm definitely talking about that a little bit later on. You kind of jumped ahead of me in the notes. But what do you think about the fact that this could, let me read this, because this is part of the bill, and it could legitimately ban the Bible in Canada. So listen to this. Advertisement for conversion therapy, so all those things, means any material, including a pornographic film, video, audio, or other recording made by any means of visual representation or any, this is the important part, any written material that is used to promote or advertise conversion therapy contrary to section 320.103 or what I just read you. Is that just me, or is that the Bible? Which literally explicitly says homosexuality is a sin, and you were born male and female, he created them.
Yeah.
And they lump this in. The bad thing is they lump this in with child pornography, voyeuristic recordings, or advertisements of sexual services. All of those would be great things that they could seize and destroy. But no, they had to add in that last part, which the Bible, it sweeps up in its very vague reading of it by design. I have no doubt that this is an attack on Christianity. And if you think that's a slippery slope argument, because I can see it, I can see where you're saying there thinking, no, they won't do that. I mean, I'm not the only one. The Gospel Coalition is worried. They sent out a letter to pastors, like, with the whole intent being, we need to proclaim this. It was a letter designed to state the Christian theology of you're born male and female and other things. They sent it out to a lot of churches in Canada with the intent for those churches to sign it and send it to the House of Commons and the Senate. But the Gospel Coalition is worried. Fox News reports that over 4,000 pastors, some in Canada, some here in the States, are worried. A common sense critical look at this, combined with the attack on Christian values all over the world, makes the case that this could be the first step that's very bad in a list of steps that are very, very bad. And here's another insidious part to it. What do you do if you're a parent and don't want to subject your kid to this? What do? You can't get any good therapy in Canada. So you, come to America or somewhere else, maybe? I hope you're ready to stay, and I hope you're able to get American citizenship. Because this atrocity has an addition to it that applies to people who take their kid out of Canada for this purpose. Can you believe that? They're trying to legislate elsewhere? I guess they're not trying to legislate elsewhere. They're saying they're legislating what they can do and come back. What can you do and be able to come back without going to prison? Right, Marcus?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
You sound flabbergasted.
I don't know how you get away with it. I don't know how that makes any of this makes any sense.
It's not designed to. It's designed to make sense. It would have to have some element of truth.
Has this actually been passed? Like,
yes.
Is this actually, like,
back in December, I think the royal assent.
This has not only been made up, but made it through to be an actual law now.
Yes, it's going into effect like in the past few days. This was voted on in December, and then the royal assent was in late December in Canada, and so this is actual law. This is actual law. No,
it's like the Green New Deal bull crap, where it was all this bull crap. I figure it might have been something like that, but it was more serious contender for. But it's actually like made a laws even worse. It's fabulous. I can't even speak straight.
Well, talk about this. What if a Canadian takes their children to an American? Say they live in a border town, right? And they go to church in America, and that pastor stands up in the pulpit, espouses that homosexuality is a sin, or that male and female, he created them. Basic fundamentals of Christian theology. And then go back to Canada, and then their kid rats them out. Because by this text, they could go to prison for 5 years. That is expressly breaking the law in prison.
There's no way that they can get somebody in America in jail for that. There should be no way that they can get somebody.
No. It's not American jail. It's coming back to Canada after taking their kid to that.
Oh yeah, I thought you were saying that you come get the pastor. I was like,
no, you can't come get the pastor. You can't come get the pastor. But the kid, if the kid says their parent took them to that, and that's what happened. Yeah, under a casual reading of this law, the parents could go to prison for that for 5 years. It's sickening. So last week I talked about the After School Satan Club in Illinois. Did you hear that one, Marcus? The After School Satan Club?
Yeah, that one was interesting.
So I couldn't stop laughing about it. And after the show, actually, my mother was she called me and was like, why were you laughing through that? She eventually realized that I was flabbergasted by the whole thing. And that's partially true. I was flabbergasted that there would be an after-school Satan club out in the open.
Hey kids, let's go worship Satan today.
Yes. But now that I've had a week to mull it over my head, I figured out that that's not the only reason. Part of the fact that I had to laugh is that evil just doesn't care anymore. It's cartoonishly unsubtle. The fact that the church has been such a non-force in the culture, that Satanism, or at least Satanism in the form of the Satanic Temple, has gone from an obscure externality, living in the shadows and feeding on the fringes of human society, to putting flyers in the public elementary school. It used to be, there'd be no way anywhere in America that the Satanic Temple could put flyers for an after-school Satan club in any public school. I mean, this didn't happen 15 years ago, did it?
No, but you never hear of this 15 years ago.
But the church has become such a non-cultural force that this is happening. And now the church is going to have to wade into politics and become its own constituency. And by that I mean, we're not going to be able to sit back and say, culture we'll sort it out. We have to actively attack on a political spectrum.
You talked about how the law in Canada is pretty much is almost a direct attack on Christianity and the Bible. But I'd almost say that Christianity's been attacked and almost directly since homosexuality has become any sort of force in the country. Because
I mean, you had the bakers who couldn't say no to not making a cake for a gay wedding. So you're right. He's not the only. This is not the first attempt in this hemisphere to attack Christians. I get that, but
my thing is, we make this argument a lot with different stuff. I think we make the slippery slope argument at least once a week. Talking about, where does it go from here? And you look back to 10 years ago, how long ago was that? 10, 12 years ago, whenever homosexuality started becoming big.
I think 2011.
And it's in that range, and you look at it, it's like, oh, it's not a huge deal, but you look at it, think, this is a slippery slope where we're starting to do, and then look at us now.
Oh, I
that's the problem.
100% agree with you.
The slippery slope from where we're at now. Where can we get? I mean, look where we're at now. How much worse can it get? I mean, we can go to the Canada standards and be even worse now, but I mean, does it get worse than that too?
Well, I was thinking about it actually when I was writing this, and I was saying that how this after-school Satan Club lived on the fringes of human society, and it's gone from that to putting flyers into public elementary schools. This is the same thing writ large, and it's large enough to outlaw true Christianity from an entire country in the Western world. Christians, for the first time in this hemisphere, are going to have to choose between boldly proclaiming one of the core tenets of Christianity, that God is all-powerful, that he created male and female, and to say otherwise, say that God either maliciously or unintentionally screwed up people's souls and their bodies, that he put a female soul into a male body or vice versa. Either of which is diametrically opposed to the source of our doctrine, the Bible, and incompatible with true Christianity. Pastors, deacons, and everyone down the line is going to have to make the choice to either stand up to this evil and probably be sent to prison, or walk as a free man physically, but in chains spiritually. That's just, that's where it's going to end up.
That's part of that whole slippery slope thing I said earlier. Back when this stuff started, the church kind of stayed silent, and this slippery slope put us where we're at now, and where we will be in the future. So now, where we should have stood up, the church should have stood up 10, 12 years ago. Now you're looking at where, in another 10, 12 years, if you stand up, you may be killed.
I don't know about killed or put in prison at the very least. If we don't stand up now, you're right.
Because, if you look at the signs, the end of, as far as the end of the world, and, and Jesus coming back and everything, it can't be too far off.
It can't be.
So, it's only a matter of time before Christianity's at the point where we're getting put in prison or killed because
this is it.
For what we believe.
This is it. This is Christians who are going to have to stand up for what they believe. That is what it is. Or they're going to prison.
In Canada's already put it in motion. It's already there. So,
and let me put in a warning. Let me put in a warning real quickly. Don't believe for a second they don't want this in the United States. 25 states and even more localities have bans exist to protect the conversion therapy again under the guise of the old school. We're going to shock this out of them. Now, as of right now, every state and locality have a religious exemption. So churches can say, we're against homosexuality, you were born male or female. We can still say that in this country rightly because, But how long do you want to bet that will last? My money is if this is successful in Canada, they're going to bring that here faster than you would think possible. Last word on it. I think that if we don't get Democrats out of majority leader and out of leadership pretty fast, which I don't see happening, unfortunately, with how this country is as far as blue states and all this stuff goes. But Marcus,
if you don't get them out, we don't. Yeah,
conventional wisdom tells us that there's going to be a bloodbath for Republicans in 2022.
I know. That's the problem.
No, it's going to be good. It's going to be good. We're going to take back both the House and the Senate.
I would love to see it, but I don't know, man. There's so many idiots out there that are that just believes CNN fake news about, oh my God, the Republicans are so bad. And there's some people that they look at, say, a Republican and say, just because you're a Republican, you're human garbage. I mean, that's a fact, you know, and that people are a lot that out there. So it's only a matter of time before the young minds are shaped by teachers or by friends, like we're seeing by these liberal views, and it's only a matter of time before we can do nothing about it because it's just everything's liberal.
Yeah.
So it's only a matter of time. And
well, I hope you're wrong.
If we see it.
I hope you're wrong.
We will see it.
Yeah, I hope you're wrong, and we do get control of the House and the Senate, and you know, none of this stuff can come back up and can surface for a while.